What's up, Windsor?
No. What's up, Windsor, Essex?
I love it. Hi, guys. Krista from Angie Goulet & Associates and, of course, our What's Up, Windsor podcast. I am so lucky today to have Tracey Bailey here with me, which is the mayor of Lakeshore. Welcome, Tracey.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Thank you. This is going to be fantastic. We're going to talk all about Lakeshore today, and we're going to learn a little bit about Tracey. So let's start off with that, Tracey. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, sure. So Tracey Bailey, I am a wife and a mom of 3 beautiful daughters. So on the heels of International Women's Day, just happening yesterday, mom of 3 daughters. I ran for election in 2014. And I won Ward 4 seat. So I was fortunate enough to be able to sit in that seat for 4 years.
Okay.
And then I had some aspirations to run for deputy mayor. And I was fortunate enough to have the support of residents to win that seat as well. So I did that for 4 years. And then this past term I ran for mayor and I was successful.
Wow.
Yes.
So you've been in office for going on 9 years.
That's correct.
And a mother of 3. And you have a full-time job.
That's right. So I'm also the Chief Executive Officer for the Community Support Center of Essex County. So that is my 9 to 5. And there we host a full menu of senior services from transportation to foot care clinics to we have an audiology clinic. We have Meals on Wheels and several programs.
A food bank as well?
As well as a food pantry. That's right.
Wow. Yeah. It really amazes me. When you think of Lakeshore, you don't think of people in need. I'm just going to say it out loud because I think a lot of us think that way. So to think that Lakeshore has a pantry and a need for it is surprising. What's your traffic like through where you're at full time? Yeah,
we've certainly seen a big increase in food security needs in Lakeshore. Throughout the pandemic in particular, the needs really increased across. So the food pantry that's housed here in Lakeshore serves both Tecumseh and Lakeshore.
Oh, it does.
And so the numbers are going up, unfortunately. There is also what we refer to as hidden homelessness. So oftentimes in rural areas like Lakeshore, we see couch surfing and people who don't have a fixed address, but it's a little bit more hidden than it is in the city.
Yeah. So even in an area like Lakeshore, it still exists.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow. So you've been here 9 years, almost 9 years. Yeah. Tell us, what is your vision for Lakeshore? What, as a mayor, what do you want to see happen?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think
first and foremost, maybe.
I think first and foremost, the reason that's a fantastic question is really I am a visionary. So that is core to who I am. Mm-hmm. Actually, when I ran for council, when I was sitting in the seat, I thought, I'm doing good work and I'm appreciative of the work I'm doing and residents are supportive. But I really had a wider lens. So it was the vision of all of Lakeshore that maybe to some degree held me back from serving residents directly in Ward 4. And so bringing that skill set where my vision is wider to deputy mayor seat or to the mayor seat, I think was powerful. I tend to look big picture. I tend to look down the road, and I tend to plan that way as well. And it aligns itself at a good time when municipal budgets need to start becoming longer visioned and planning and asset management and all of those things need longer term planning. So the alignment is the right time and the right place, I think, for somebody with the skill set and the talents that I bring.
Yes.
And for Lakeshore, there's a lot of growth left here in Lakeshore. So the protection of our farmlands has been a key component with the introduction of battery storage plants and greenhouse industry coming to Lakeshore, and some of those non-traditional agricultural uses that challenge our lands. Some of the upper government decision-making around the expansion of housing and the demand for increased amount of housing. So those are pressures on the municipality. So it's the protection of the agricultural lands and how we do it properly. How do we look at the landscape and ensure that we're planning effectively and longer term so that we're not just seeing the greenhouse industry pop up everywhere, or battery storage locations.
Yeah.
So we're being a little bit more prescriptive and better planned. Wallace Woods, part of our municipality, will be home to 20,000 people in the future.
That's
so
crazy. That's
how
a
are
huge
we
number.
planning? Yes.
Yeah.
How are we planning our road network, and how are we taking a wider lens that will expand Lakeshore from 43,000 people to 63,000 people?
Right.
So it's quite a lot.
It is a lot to plan, especially with a full-time job and a mother. That's a lot to do. Now, we do know that there's a lot of growth coming into Lakeshore. I shouldn't say growth, I should say population growth. Being in real estate, selling houses, for a while there, especially through the pandemic, we could not keep up with the sales. It was slightly crazy. I'm going to say that, and we all know that. How do you see that affecting Lakeshore, not just Bell River, not just Manning Road area and that corridor, but all of Staples? I mean, all these little towns. How do you see this population growth? Where do you see it going?
So
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. And so certainly we know that this more west end of our municipality is targeted for significant growth. 20,000 people from Puce Road to Manning Road, and mixed uses there. So also adjacent to the industrial land. We're seeing the expansion as well into the more rural areas, as you said, through Staples and St. Joachim, Comber, Stony Point. And there is a time that potentially parts of Ontario are becoming landlocked. So we're seeing the building and development going up instead of out, and also mixed use in the building sector. So buildings that are popping up adjacent to condos, adjacent to apartment buildings, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Landlocked is a very interesting word. Do you fear and see that ever happening here? Or
I think that it's prudent that we're mindful of it. We certainly see it happening throughout Ontario. I'd like to be proactive. So this is some of the work we're doing with our agricultural lands, our industrial lands, really trying to plan how the land is developed is important, because it is going to do that. We are going to find a time in Ontario and in southwestern Ontario when we're landlocked. So it's important that we preserve as much as we can, that we put industry that is like for like in areas throughout Lakeshore. So places where hydro lines are already coming through, the infrastructure's there, it makes good sense that you would have adjacent battery storage plants. Greenhousing, we're attempting to prescribe a bit of a business park where greenhousing could exist, as opposed to greenhousing just being something that you can develop anywhere where there's ag land.
Got you. Yeah. So just smartly planning it out.
That's right.
Right. And we've got to keep the residents in mind too, and keep them happy, of course.
That's right.
So, wow. So what are some of the issues? Actually, I'm going to bring up an issue that, again, as a real estate agent in this area, that we ran into was the sewage problem in Lakeshore. That is something that we talk about all the time and question. Can you fill me in a little bit about what's going on with that?
Yeah, so certainly we're knee deep into the expansion of the St. Denis Center.
No pun intended.
Currently, so it is a real challenge, and growth occurred so quickly that here we are, and we certainly have a sewage problem. So it's our intent to have a plan. We have a study out currently. We want to have a plan in place within 18 months.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
Yes, as quickly as possible, and be able to really begin implementing all of the stages that come back from that study. So it's important. Lakeshore is so big. The landscape alone, you can fit two of the city of Windsor in Lakeshore.
Wow, I did not know that.
So just the geography
crazy.
Alone.
Wow.
So Lakeshore is unique in the challenges of how we're going to address the problem. From Lighthouse Cove straight back to Manning Road, it's likely that we need a solution that meets with the agricultural lands and also meets with the more urban populations.
Got you. Okay. So about 18 months, we've got a hope to have a plan in place. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of other things that go with that. Yes. Now, tell me, here's a good question for real estate. Why should somebody pick Lakeshore? Why should a buyer move to Lakeshore? Whether you're coming from Windsor or out of town, which we have a lot of out of towners coming, why should somebody choose Lakeshore? And again, not just Bell River, which is where we are sitting at today, the mayor's office, but anywhere in Lakeshore.
I just feel like that is such a fantastic question because so Lakeshore has so much to boast about. From Lighthouse Cove to Manning Road, the geography size, the opportunity to have both urban and rural at your fingertips, to be sitting on EC Row, to be sitting on the 401, to have opportunities to cross the border, by boat, by, train, by 401, by EC Row.
Well, I'm going to cut you off there.
Yeah.
It's so much closer than people actually realize.
It is.
Right? Like, especially in Bell River, once you hit that 401 to the Costco corner, it's 11 minutes.
That's right.
It's really quite close. And so much to do. So go on, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Yes. So, I mean, you're 11 minutes from everywhere.
Yes.
So a really, really great location, miles and miles of waterfront, state-of-the-art Atlas Tube Center that has, 3 Olympic-sized pools ice pads and the pool and a walking path and an external 5-kilometer walking path.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We have our Sea Watch trails. So I live in St. Joachim. I can ride my bike from St. Joachim clear through to the bridge.
Wow.
So
that's fantastic.
A really nice connected network.
Yeah. And on one of our earlier podcasts, we had talked about, was it 27 kilometers were just purchased of old railway? Yeah. So that's fantastic to connect all of that.
Yeah.
Now, how many people live in Lakeshore?
43,000 people.
43,000 in Lakeshore.
That's right.
Wow. And we're adding 20 more to that.
Wallace Woods will see 20,000, built out.
Wow, so 63,000. Yeah. And we can fit 2 Windsors in that space. So room for growth.
That's right.
When you put it that way, with only 63,000 versus whatever Windsor has, 250,000.
Yes, that's right.
Wow,
yes.
So definitely room for growth. The other thing I think we should mention is lower taxes, right? One of the lowest, probably the lowest mill rate in all of Windsor-Essex County.
We've been very fortunate to be able to keep that tax rate down for sure. And it's something for residents to boast about.
Yes. Now I'm going to ask you this, with a lot of this growth coming, changes and planning for the infrastructures, things like that. Do you see taxes changing?
Well, I think that we need to be innovative around the infrastructure and growth paying for growth. So I think that we've often heard the terms that growth pays for growth, but what we know is that it doesn't, and that it costs the municipality money, and that it moves over to the tax base. So the residents end up picking up the variances. So we need to be better planned in that regard as well, to ensure that our planning fees and development fees and all of those kind of things match the growth potential.
Right.
While we're also balancing some of the changing messaging from upper government that is removing some of those fees that are charged today.
Wow. Okay. So let's keep them low for now.
That's right.
Get more people to move to Lakeshore.
That's right.
Yes. Tell me, let's pretend you're only here for 4 years. I think you probably will be more. What is one thing, if it could be your legacy to be with Lakeshore, what would that be?
So I think it's longer term planning. I think it's for residents to be able to identify with Lakeshore. So Lakeshore is a product of amalgamation that occurred in 1999. But from end to end.
Is that when it actually became Lakeshore?
That's right.
In 99.
Yes.
Oh, I did not even know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And so I think it's important for me that all residents feel that together we are Lakeshore. And so that is something that we have been really working towards, and making sure that the connectivity is there for all. Longer term visioning and in terms of how the municipality connects, to each other. If I live in St. Joachim or Lighthouse Cove, how do I feel connected, and what is the identity? I think that's probably the most important factor for residents.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Got to feel like a one big happy family, right?
That's right.
All get along.
Yes.
Yeah. And these small towns are so important, not only to each other, but to the area as a whole.
And remembering the uniqueness of them. So in Lighthouse Cove, what might be important is golf carts, floating homes, Airbnbs.
Right.
And in other regions, so in Wallace Woods, it'll be the connection to the city of Windsor and the 11 minutes to get where I need to go.
Yeah.
And maybe it will be the industrial lands. So it certainly changes depending on where you are in Lakeshore and how you feel connected.
Yes, exactly. Well, and let's tie in areas like Amherstburg and Colchester, and right, like we have such a fantastic variety, and we do all have to feel somewhat connected and feel a sense of pride.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. This is our home.
Yes, exactly. Last thing I want to chat about is, like you mentioned earlier, coming off the heels of International Women's Day, which was this week. Successful businesswoman, successful business team here with Angie Goulet Associates of Women. How proud are you of yourself, of what you've accomplished as a woman in today's, in today, we still see a boys' club, especially in your job, especially in my job. There's this old boys' club still, and we still are working very hard to get over that. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts and how proud you are of yourself and things like that.
Yeah,
about
certainly
being a
it
successful
is.
woman.
Certainly I'm proud. I think that we realize these moments of pride when we look back. So as we mentioned earlier, I have 3 daughters, and I think it's when I look back and I look ahead, you know, that I have these moments of pride and of all that's been accomplished. But really, on the heels of International Women's Day, I think the other thing is that we stand on the shoulders of all of the women that came before us. And it's so important that we recognize that and that we understand that the decisions that have been made and people that sat at tables and they were the only one. I enter boardrooms and meetings. I'm still the only female at the table.
Wow.
You know, everybody's had an experience of inequity.
Yes.
And I appreciate those that have come before us. We stand on their shoulders now, and you know, we get these opportunities to shine and to raise people up and you know, really work together. So I think it's important that as we gain these spots, that we remember where we've come from and that we also groom up others along the way. So it's important for me to create opportunities for women to succeed. It's important for me to demonstrate support for women in industry. My youngest daughter is a female welder. You know, so certainly working in a career that is male dominated.
Yes. And you had told me earlier, voted the best welder at her job place.
That's right.
That's fantastic.
That's right.
And it just goes to show women really can do anything.
That's right.
Yeah. I can picture a little girl watching you be voted in as mayor and just thinking that could be me one day. Right. Which is so fantastic. But, anyways, Tracey, we're going to wrap this up because you probably have a lot to do and plan and get to. So I want to say thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on Lakeshore with us. I am very excited to watch the growth, not only residentially, but like you say, commercially. We know there's new things coming into town all the time, into Lakeshore, I should say, all the time. So anxious to watch that. Any last bits of words of wisdom you want to share with us about Lakeshore?
I just want to say thanks so much for highlighting Lakeshore. We certainly have a lot to boast about, and I appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, thank you. And so much to do here,
so much
right?
to do.
We've got the beach. We've got beautiful Lighthouse Cove with the canals. It just, living here, you take it for granted, right? But when you sit back and think about it, there's so much to do. So everybody, please be sure that you check out what Lakeshore has to offer for you, not only this weekend, but over March break. I'm sure there's going to be some fantastic programming. Check out the Atlas Tube Center. I'm pretty sure anyone can go to the Atlas Tube Center and utilize their facilities. So thank you again. Thank you for watching, and tune in next time.